Thanks for joining us today for another Dr. Russ Air Rifle Adventures. You know, Dr. Paul and I are really thrilled that you kept us as one of your resources for information on air guns, targeting or hunting. We appreciate that. We appreciate you taking the time to see and hear our videos. We enjoy doing them. We've got videos, viewers from all over the world. Over 1.4 million, I think, was the last count we had. There's 15,200 of you as of this date that have subscribed, wanting to see those next videos as soon as they come out. We're thankful for that too. We're a little amazed as well. Might as well get that out. We've got a motto: stay safe, stay sharp, and silent. So if you enjoy this passion for air guns like we do, shooting 12 months of the year, I think we're pretty special people, you and us. I was a powder gunner for a long time, and that's really a fall sport. In some cases with turkey and shotguns, it's a spring sport. But air guns, 12 months of the year. And if you really have a passion for shooting, you want to be in air guns. Now, if you enjoy this passion, give us a thumbs up. And if you have a question, put it on the comment section, and I try to answer them within a week, sometimes within hours. If you want to be notified of the next one coming out, subscribe if you haven't already. Today, we're going to cover two very important subjects. Let me begin by putting on a comfortable hat. This is the one I'm most comfortable in. You know, some of you have a Hercules, a Hatsan Hercules rifle, and it was quite popular, very reliable. And then Hatsan had so many people inquiring, why isn't it available in a bullpup? And so finally they put it out and came out with what's called the Hercules, powerful, bully, meaning bullpup. And it was really quite interesting. Nice 500cc tank, a good barrel shroud for silence, and I'll have to tell you, the moment you get on into the large bores, and this happens to be a 357, it's loud. So it needs this shroud over it. It needs an excellent suppressor on the end. Somebody wrote in once and said, why is there a hole in this shroud? You probably can't see it. Oh, here it is, right there. Why is that hole? Thinking it was a defect. Not true. You see, your muzzle out here sends some air back down inside this shroud, all shrouds, and that helps with the silence. Hatsan calls it their QE, quiet energy shroud. It takes about half the sound out. So when you put a suppressor on it, it's only dealing with half the. Well, what happens to all that air that comes down? The newer guns have that tiny hole, and it releases some of this air pressure that comes back down here. You may have an early air gun with an early shroud, could be any brand, and if you can't find that hole, put one in. I have. It's easy, and the gun stays quieter longer. Another thing, that was a video source that I listened to, and this particular guy was very, very concerned that we have all these extra barrel shroud holders, and they thought that the gun might be inaccurate, that they were a proponent of a free floating barrel. I've said before, I'll say it again, powder guns do better with a free floating barrel. I'm not convinced that air guns are. So I've left mine on. I get beautiful groupings. You'll see that in a minute. But there's at least one video out there that shows they've taken those last ones off and in effect given it a free float. Now here's a problem. If you're going to use a sling at all and it's attached to this bottle protector, that's going to have much more free play, and you may not like that. This particular air gun holds 9 shots. I use the JSBs in it, and it fits here. Now some people don't like bullpups. They don't like the shortness. Why? Because we often find you in the back here reaching back and cocking it here rather than here. I'm not here to fight that. If that's how you feel, stick with the regular Hercules length or regular length Woodstock, and if not, switch over to the bully. This thing is still got, even as a bully, I always check out this barrel length, and it's 23 inches. In my mind, you know, we have this 72 deal breaker list. That's not my 72 items. I have about 15 on it, and that's it. You're to get it, read it, and come up with your 15. You get a completely different situation. You hunt different animals, shoot at different targets, get in and out of different cars. So just highlight the ones that are important to you. But one of them that's important to me is a 20-inch plus barrel. I just find them to be more accurate for the shooting that I do. And this has a 23-inch length barrel, more than 20. Overall, this gun from back here to there is 36.2 inches. It's still a real long gun. One thing that Hatsan, a disadvantage is they make heavy guns. I don't think they know anything about titanium and platinum and some of these aluminums. They make everything out of a heavy breech because Turkey's in the backbone of Turkey is making military guns and powder guns. So they figure, okay, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough, as they do this side issue of making air guns. Hatsan actually is really famous for their shotguns, powder shotguns. So they're heavy. This is 10.3 pounds, and that's before scope comes up. Now it has this real long Picatinny rail that is both the 10, some people call 11 millimeter, and then clear out here to the side, 20 millimeter Picatinny rail. Has both, and it has nice sights for both ends with that luminous color tips. So if you're shooting under 30-40 yards, you may just want the fixed, not fixed, they're adjustable, but they're adjustable fixed sights. Maybe it's my age, I like scopes. I like to see in the early morning hours and late evening. That's when the trophies move. And I want to shoot out 100 yards, and this gun maybe even further. But here's the interesting thing. I'm going to give you some specs on this. We're going to do some shooting with it in a second, but Dr. Paula's been after me for some time. She said, Russ, you need to prove this belief you have that as the scope is straight and the barrel is slightly angling up, that when you make adjustments in the crosshairs here of the scope, while it's still straight out, it crosses, the two lines cross somewhere out there, and for me, 30-35 yards. That's important because I have a lot of critters get up pretty close to the house, and they need to be taken out at 35 yards. But keep in mind, gravity's out there, and it has this straight line with the scope or your fixed sights. Go straight. Here comes this pellet, and it comes back down to earth. And so when you sight it in for one range, you're going to get two where it comes back in. For most guns, air guns, it's about 65, 70 yards. And she said, you know, if you would put up some targets all the way out, you could show that pellet rising up off the bullseye and then coming right back in the bullseyes. That's what I was planning to do until last night, because I also have trail cameras. I have 7 trail cameras around this house. I like to see what's going on at all times. And trail cameras not only take pictures of destructive critters, but it tells you the time it was there. And I noticed this nice size, medium-sized woodchuck was out on that berm at about 7:45 every day, eating, digging holes, being destructive. And it's at 60, 65 yards. And I said, you know, I'm going to shoot this gun. I'm going to show that it's sighted in for 30, 35 yards. And I'm going to see if it doesn't hit that woodchuck right in the head here at 65 yards. And last night I did that. Today I'm going to be shooting at these bullseye targets. So you're going to see a review on this Hatsan, whether you have the Hercules or the Hercules bully, and you're going to see a sight in, and you're going to see a hunt at the end. Okay, well, for today's target practice, we're going to zero the gun in as if it isn't already at 35 yards using these JSB 35 Diablos and 81 grain. Here's the magazine, and it all works with this got a little bit of grease right there, but there's your fill port. I filled the port. It'll take up to 3,600 foot-pounds. And now let's put in this well, okay, there we go. This little lever holds that into place, and now when we push it forward like that, we're pushing one of these 9 35 caliber pellets into position. Now you should know that the 35 caliber, the 357 Magnum, and the 9mm in air guns is identically the same round. It's measuring that front end. And but the reason they're different bullets with powder guns is that the cartridge with the powder behind them is different. Obviously, the 357 Magnum would have a long casing with powder. But when it comes to air, we got the same amount of air going down, and the bullets, the slugs are all the same. Okay, let's see how well we do. Okay, here at 30 yards, we're shooting at about 5 o'clock. I can make some adjustments on that, but that's where she was sighted in when I shot the woodchuck last night at about 65 yards. Now let's see what power this pellet hits a 2-liter bottle of white powder. Well, that's enough powder to kill a woodchuck. Let's find out if it does. You know, cameras out in the woods do not only pick up where deer and other critters travel, but they also tell you the time. And I've had a camera picking up a woodchuck here between 7 and 7:45 in Michigan. And sure enough, he's sitting up right now between those 2 blue spruces. Not that far. He's about 75 yards. And he's going to be out here for about 30 minutes. I'm going to see if he won't get just a little closer before I shoot him. still out in front of us. There's some geese about to walk in front of him. And he's up past the little green grass. He's in the weeds. And he's sitting up. He's chewing on the top of the plant. He's right between those spruces. Okay, he's moved about 60 yards now. And I think I'm going to use this Hatsan 357. I really don't want to chase him all through the cattails looking for him. And this gun should take him down, and quickly. Well, I wish we had a camera down there by him, but we weren't lucky. This is kind of a impulse thing. These woodchucks just tear up this yard. I've seen entire boulders disappear, and I've got $80,000 worth of boulders out there holding different layers of this hill back, and these woodchucks have been trying to destroy it. He's out there laying down right where I shot him with this 357. Now I'll go out and get him. Well, we definitely hit him, and got a good blood splatter. But let me show you over here. He dug up a hole here, and he was eating all of these turtle eggs. You can see these turtle eggs are all opened up, and he's gotten to them. We tracked the blood. You can see a little bit of blood right there. And he went down here, and we followed the blood right out, and you may or may not see it, but let me get over here so you can at least see the direction. We followed right there where he went through the cattails and into the water. And he laid here for a good 3-4 minutes, so I thought he was deader than a doornail, but he wasn't. He kind of woke up, and they have a real tough skin on them. That's why I went to the 357. If you look back up over this way, you'll see our home and but even with a 357 and 60 yards, it didn't kill him. I obviously didn't have a killing shot. Now, I'll get out there with some tall rubber boots and try to track him down more. But let me just go over a couple things. I have 7 cameras around the house picking up critters. And this particular one has been on this berm. I didn't realize he was eating turtle eggs. But that's what he was doing. And he was out here every day. And so we came out. Sure enough, there he is again. I can see places they've been digging out here. And a couple years ago, this berm let go, and I'm sure it was because of all the woodchucks in it. I think I shared with you a story once when a friend of mine, a client, he had a barn, and he put a new cement floor in it, and he put his tractor on it. And he came in one day, put the tractor on it from farming, went to his house. The next morning he came out, and the tractor had fallen in. And when they dug the tractor out and got the cement out, They found out that there were five or six families in there underneath that cement floor, causing it to be hollow, and it collapsed. So I really want to get rid of these woodchucks whenever I can. But the point was, a camera got him out here and told us where to hunt and when to hunt. And secondly, that Hatsan 357 was sighted in for 30 yards, and this is just about 60, and that's right where that 357 pellet comes right back down and hit him broadside. He slumped like he was deader than a doornail, but he wasn't. But he's not going to live. And he went right out that way. We'll get him another day. A lot of critters come out of this pond. Looks like something got a goose out here. Those feathers are goose feathers, not duck feathers. And they were successful in getting a goose. Another tip that you should be aware of is that shot just showed you that you don't want to go up and pick up what you think is a dead animal. That woodchuck would latch on you pretty good. You always touch him with a barrel, a stick, roll him over, make sure he's dead before you risk a hand. Well, now you know. Pellets get above your line of sight, and then they come right back into it. This Hatsan bully comes in 17, 22, and 25. Let me stop there for a moment. And that's usually one type of piston and hammer and spring that are all adjusted for that. Then, when you cross into the 30, 35, 357, 9mm, and 45, you're usually totally different things inside. But the guns are all the same price. And so I say get the one that fits your backyard. For what I'm doing here, 25, and by the way, I've got some 30 calibers that I think I probably should have had 30 calibers for this backyard. Now when you go hunting, 45, 50, and even a 72 caliber Zeus is what you need when you're hunting big game animals. Each one's a totally different shooting experience. I want to bring out just a couple more things on this gun. Keep in mind that right in here, I don't have them right now, but there are 2 more magazines that just stick up in here, giving you 3 while you're out there on a hunt. 3 times 9 is 27. And that's about all you have the air for, so consider that. Notice the fill port closes when the hammer comes forward. That's versus all the other methods that are used. I used here just 9 power. That's where this, no, let's see, 6, 8, 10. That's a 6 power that I use. I often keep my scopes on the lowest power possible so I can find an animal when they're moving, or the target. Now, often you can screw it up to the higher powers if you want to see the rack or something strong on that animal that you need a good close-up shot. But the low powers is really what it's all about. Let's see if I've left out anything else on this. Gun does not have a regulator. When you have the bottles, some guns have a bottle that has a regulator in it. Hatsan does not. In fact, I have some Hatsans. I have just about every brand, but and I'm not paid by these people, trust me. But Hatsan doesn't put a regulator in their bottles, and I have bought regulators to go in all of their tubular compressors. I could waste a lot of time and tell you what the velocity is on the gun, and I could tell you in terms of feet per second. I could talk about energy, but the truth is that I can adjust just about any air gun to meet any specs. How would I do that? Well, you take off this cheek riser here, and the gun comes back here, the metal receiver, and it's square like this. And when you come in from the back, use a hex head, and you can change that hammer spring in there for lighter, slower bullets or higher. I can use different bullet lubes, even almost a grease like a motorcycle chain lube, and that slows the pellet down. I can use some really thin silicone, and that speeds it up. It's all adjustable as far as I'm concerned, and I do that. I also like the heavier lubes when I'm breaking a rifle in. You see, if you had a microscope inside the barrel, which none of us do, you would see pits, and that's where we let it in. You'll also see some burrs on the rifling. Well, the first 100 up to 500 rounds of all guns clean that out, and we call that barrel leaded in. All that's got to really happen before these guns can be accurate, like I just showed you. So I hope that you've learned some pretty good things here on this gun. What they advertise is that this 35 shoots at about 900 feet per second. That 45 shoots at about 850. In 35 caliber, 357, we're getting about 160 foot-pounds of energy. But you'll get almost twice that with the 45 caliber. Of course, it's only going to shoot 6-8 times, and you got to fill it up with air again. But there's always some give and take with these air guns, and as long as you know what you're doing. Also, keep in mind that this trigger here is adjustable, but you can't. There's no two screws there for you to do that with, or hex heads, either one. What you do, you have to come clear back here with this off, and there's 3 holes in the buttricks end, and the bottom one requires a hex head, and you can change the power of air. But where this trigger comes back here and lets the powder go, there are the 2 tiny screws you would normally find up here, and you adjust it. And you can adjust the softness of the trigger. I just want a couple of pounds at max. And the travel distance. But that's because I shot a lot of competition meetings. And when I think up here, it's time to shoot, the gun goes off. That's how soft air gun competitors like. Well, it's all here. This is all adjustable. One of the noise things, a lot of people say, well, when you get over that 30 caliber, you want a suppressor on the end. No. I can tell you that 90% of the sound's coming right here, because your cheek and your ear is up to it. Maybe you want to put some foam in there. Maybe you want to put a piece of black foam they put in cars, and if you don't have that available, go into a hardware store and get that foam that they wrap around pipes, and you put that on there, and you'll stop this bang noise that you think is out there. It's not. It's right here in your ear. And have somebody stand beside you, and even with that loud ping sound, you'll find out that they'll say, "Gosh, the gun was silent. It hardly made a noise out there." Well, if you enjoyed today, give us a thumbs up. If you have a question, leave us a comment. And if you want to be safe and sharp and silent, maybe you want to order one of our hats and shirts. I don't know, we got 20, 30 left, so we're getting down there. I'm not sure what we're going to do when they're gone. But there's still time to order those. I still like the CV Life. This is not a CV Life, but I like the CV Life scopes. I think they're the best bargain. I always get a question, what scope were you using? This is about a $200-300 scope here, so go to CV Life. Don't forget to put Russ 15 on it, and you'll get a 15% discount. I hope all that helps you. Every gun I have is a refurbished. That target I just showed you was pretty good, and yet this was a refurbished gun. How can that be? The answer is, when they make guns in a factory, they're made in a factory. They don't hardly see a human unless he's the guy that pushes it into a box. But when you have a refurbished gun, then you have a mechanic who has to look that gun over, find out what was wrong with it before they ship it out a second time. 90% of my guns are refurbished. See you next time.